Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So, another Western value that often doesn't get discussed is America's infatuation with fast food. I was a McDonald's baby before my grandpa was laid off. We used to have some of my birthday parties at McDonald's. And at that time, that's when McDonald's had those giant playgrounds, and I still remember them coming out with rows of cheeseburgers and fries and the sundaes for all the children, and we would play in the bouncy ball pit, and it was a grand old time. Now, as you recall, I have digestion issues, and growing up with eating high amounts of fast food, I do contribute stomach problems to a lot of the fast food, preservatives, and overall poor diet. And if you recall, I had food insecurity, so I often ate at other people's houses, and that's a big reason why I put food first today now as an adult, and to make a lot of things from scratch and focus a lot on cooking. And so America is known by McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell, KFC, Panda Express, chains like that. We put a lot of fast food items in schools. The nutrition programs in our public schools are basically like fast food, and a lot of it's frozen stuff. So junk food, aka fast food, and those of that kind are a value that America has. There's a reason why a lot of Americans are obese. We have food additives, poor metabolism, thyroid problems, and other such illnesses that come from poor nutrition. Now, in some poor countries, they eat rice, beans, and eggs, make pita bread or tortillas. America is really more of the land of Wonder Bread and heavily processed food. And junk food is pushed on people before self-reliance. So instead of encouraging people to have a little tiny backyard garden and, harvest some seeds from a tomato, things like that, because seeds are really not expensive. They're not. And once you grow seeds, you get the plant, each tomato gives you a bunch of seeds for next year. So you get to actually harvest seeds, and if you're smart, you only have to buy seeds once. And we push fast, convenient food, not sitting down and enjoying it. If you compare this to, let's say, Asian cultures where food preparation takes time, and just watching the chef do his art, you begin to see the difference of the American consumerist diet. So drive-ins, speed, don't take long. Fast food workers face a lot of violence. If you'll actually pay attention to some crime stats, you'll see that fast food workers who work in the drive-in, they get assaulted, verbally harassed, robbed. People go in and throw tantrums, and they throw things at the cashier, knock over stuff. You see a lot of bad things that happen in fast food places. And we have to examine what kind of culture we are pushing. Instead of a mom cooking at home, it's Burger King after school, and we have a high rate of diabetes and obesity growing in this nation. And America gave birth to McDonald's and these types of Kentucky Fried Chicken enterprises. And that links into factory farming. So the small farms where cows were treated right, chickens were treated right, were pushed aside for companies like Tyson and those of their kind, where the animals really do have a miserable existence before they're culled in order to meet the demand of fast food. And there's been lots of studies done on the harms of fast food, and McDonald's guards it very tightly and what they put in their food, and it's all GMOs and stuff like that, and the lowest of the low. I remember when the dollar menu was literally $1. Chicken sandwich for $1. We would go there after school and get it. It's really quite a shame. And my child has only tasted McDonald's once just because I wanted her to see what it was like. But I can make chicken nuggets from quality meat with organic flour, fried in good oil, beef tallow, just really wholesome things I make at home now. Burgers from high quality cows, you name it. Make my own burger buns, or if I buy burger buns, they're brioche, very nice. So you can have burgers and fries and tendies at home made with quality ingredients, but those take time. The frozen ones that come from a GMO fed, factory farmed animals are extremely unhealthy. And so people who travel, when you go to gas stations and you see just a lot of packaged preserved food, you'll notice something. If you drive through America, you see a lot of fast food. A&W, you get really shocked because it's no longer like diners, classical diners. There's a show that me and my children love called Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. You'll see some of the heart of how Americans used to eat and how restaurants had character and how the big corporate chains kind of busted down the door and ruined things. Kind of like how Starbucks did to your mom and pop coffee shop or your artisan coffee shop, hipster even coffee shops. How the corporations came in and took that over. And so people who get jobs at these places are often paid real low. I was a McDonald's fry cook, so I'm very well aware of the working environment, how the food is made, and the overall unhealthiness of it all, from the consumer to cook, and from the supply chain. So I think we have to change that. In Islam, there isn't anything that I've discovered that shames the farmer, that shames you for being a chef, or shames you as a mom for staying home and cooking. And if a woman is home making healthy food instead of buying junk food for convenience, that is good. American value also, it's like you will see a lot of women spend quite a bit of money on their makeup, their Botox, their dinosaur nails and whatnot, and then they'll eat fast food. And that always puzzles me. And I get looks a lot from people like, you don't have this or you don't have that. And I like, well, have organic stuff in my fridge. Our grandparents' generation used to always have everything organic, and then Monsanto came in, corporate big agricultural companies came in and did globalization, factories that just the smaller places couldn't compete. Just kind of like how Mexico suffered with that as well. It used to be small family farms, big corporations come in. Now it's large monocrops instead of, markets where different sellers come and sell their goods, right? So real food is something very popular in Japan, Mexico, Peru. Italy, I'm not sure if it still has that culture, but doing things by hand had a way. So if you look at America, we lost that diners, drive-ins, and dives, hunting in the outback type of attitude and frying meat over the grill, to now having junk food and fake meat. Fake meat that is heavily processed, the Impossible products, right? Which is junk, high processed garbage, but people are eating more out of boxes than actually making things at home. Cookies in packages. Just if you look at how many food preservatives people eat, artificial flavors, artificial colorings, you begin to see that Americans do not eat very well. Now the upper class will pay $400 for a steak. while food deserts exist in some places, and where some cities do not let you grow food in your front yard. America doesn't think about planting fruit trees and having community gardens, but rather open up more Burger Kings in the poorer neighborhoods. So the malnourishment that many pregnant women have that lead to low birth weight babies and overall health problems for the elderly, you can see that America is a nation that doesn't focus on holistic health. It's more trauma surgery. Even Dunkin' Donuts, with phrases like, America runs on Dunkin', you can see everything becomes a powdered artificial trash. And the fact that real food is costly and that more and more teens are not wanting to learn how to cook and instead want to just pull up in the drive-thru, you begin to notice that people don't actually value sometimes what they put into their bodies. People think they'll be beautiful regardless of their diet, without noticing that our food is our fuel for our bodies, and our bodies affect how we feel about ourselves. Gym bros kind of get into it once they start getting really healthy, which is nice. And they avoid a lot of junk food. Don't get me wrong, you can have a treat, but you can make a homemade lemon bar rather than getting one made by a machine, right? Just look at some blueberry muffins you'll buy in the store, read the label on the back. It's got all this crap in it when really all you need is milk, butter, eggs, blueberries, flour, and baking powder. Pinch of salt, maybe a little brown sugar, right? Maybe some squeeze of lemon juice. I'm getting too fancy, but you get my point. And that's why I try to inspire people to cook and like food and to break free from the junk food diet. And Mexico, for example, has started putting warning labels on some Doritos and Pepsi to be like high in sodium, high in sugar, you see? And that is good. AMLO has passed that, and I think we have to have more of that stuff here. For example, my eldest's school put out an Oreo yogurt. I couldn't believe it. Milk from a factory farmed cow, not organic, GMO, with Oreos in it. And then they wonder why these kids are super hyper, and then they put them on Ritalin. So they hype these kids up with sugar, and then they want pills to calm them down. So it's uppers and downers, uppers and downers. And for me, I can have some sliced avocado with salt and pepper, some tomatoes with like Campari tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, you name it. Slice them, put some fresh cracked pepper, salt, balsamic vinegar, and some cheese, maybe some fresh mozzarella, fried plantains, something like that. I'll have that for dinner if I don't want to make a big fancy meal. Eggplant is a big staple in our home because I eat a lot of eggplant. And we also have a lot of different kinds of beans. So you can eat a minimalistic diet without choosing fast food. Bag of beans versus going through the drive-thru. Now, we all love a good treat every now and then, as I mentioned. However, a lot of youths are getting porky with their tablets, living in apartments, eating poorly. And we don't focus on respect of food. Teaching people, like encouraging them, okay, grow some mint, grow some chamomile, grow some basil. These are simple things. And food scarcity is also because of our laziness. So people rather eat fast food than grow their own food, and this is a problem. And Americans have lost respect for farmers, and they have imported high amounts of Latin Americans to do the farm work. And a lot of the country boys push their daughters to go to university and don't actually pass on their land to their children in the same way with the respect for farming and raising livestock. 100 years ago, kids knew how to butcher a chicken down. They understood the circle of life. Seeing a calf be born in the barn and then getting milk from the mom and then eventually harvesting the mom or having some nice veal. There was more awareness around where food comes from. Fast food junk food, frozen foods erode that. And they teach you to not appreciate what goes into your body. And a lot of kids don't even know how to grow food. It's just food's on the shelf in the store, and that's it, and I don't need to do nothing about it. And so I would say that the prophets, peace be upon them all, a lot of them were around shepherding classes. They were not in the ivory towers. And I find that to be remarkable. And in Islam, we have ways in which we butcher an animal, right? The halal method of slicing the throat. And we don't mindlessly ignore the souls of those animals. Like, you can't brand an animal on its face. There's really a whole mode to Islamic commerce, and the fact that you have to have a Haidi, right, I believe it's called, where you sacrifice an animal in Hajj. So right there already you recognize the respect for the one who raises the animals that you're gonna have for sacrifice, and giving meat to the poor, sharing meat, utilizing every piece of the animal. That necessitates that we raise healthy, happy animals who have a fulfilling life before we consume them, because we are what we eat. If you want to eat a sickly animal, it's not going to do you well. Eating a healthy animal is far better for you. So the junk food era has produced the laziness and self-reliance. And this is another reason why I do think some people will eat the bugs. My kid had a school book from the library that talked about eating bugs, eating locusts. And I find it weird that the government doesn't encourage chicken coops and tries to minimize chicken coops and how to properly do that. Instead is pushing bugs incrementally. And doesn't even tell you have a beehive. Right? There's skills kids can learn in school that'll actually be more practical. So America in the public schools doesn't actually respect the farmer. It's very hard to get schools to have a garden club and to have in the curriculum things around life skills. So America values fast food more than they do real food. Thanksgiving was a time when people would cook really healthy things and pass down recipes and have a wholesome meal after the harvest. After the harvest, you're preparing for winter and you're gonna go through the snow era. Liberals would say argue politics or don't invite this person to Thanksgiving, and they really focused hard on ruining that holiday. Instead of it being about thanks and giving, it was about political agendas, and then the next day having Black Friday, where you push and shove each other to buy electronic products. So that was a food holiday that had a lot of significance to it. And if you notice, immigrants, when they first come here, they cook their traditional food, but their younger children don't bother to learn cooking, and they adapt to the American diet of fast food. And they stop cooking and they start just eating out. America has respect for Michelin star restaurants, but it doesn't have respect for the farmers market anymore. And so I hope to be part of that change and encouraging people to plant a fruit tree, sow wildflower seeds for the bees, grow herbs, learn about what edible mushrooms you can eat, learn about different teas, all kinds of stuff. Go fishing, learn hunting, understand the cycle of life and the bounty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. In Islam, you understand the provision that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. When you eat junk food, you haven't really appreciated the vast culinary experiences that are waiting for you. And the ocean is filled with things to eat. The sky is literally filled with all kinds of yummy birds. Nice fat geese. The trees giving you so much bounty. Every apple on the tree contains seed to grow more of those. Edible flowers. Herbs, you name it. So much. And all those hoofed animals. From all the different breeds of cows, all the different breeds of goats and sheep. It's quite amazing. It's quite amazing how much food Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us. Just the cow alone. Everything we get from the cow. Packaged food, junk food, vending machines, all that. It has done quite a number on the health of our nation. So America values junk food and fast food, doesn't value real food anymore, and has made it harder and harder for its people to own a home, let alone have an acre where they can actually have some self-reliance. America has tricked its own people into giving up food sovereignty to now being dependent upon the artificial supply of food, which is dead of nutrients. It's fascinating when you examine at how far the American culture has changed, and how even some restaurants they cut corners with using the worst, cheapest ingredients and upcharging the price so much. Something to think about. And even people eating on the go, eating while walking, eating while driving, not even sitting down and enjoying what you're eating. Even that tells you the lack of appreciation. Food is a way you connect with people and make yourself fortified. We've lost a lot of respect for that. And I would say that so many youngsters don't know how to cook, nor would they even cook for their elderly family members. So their family members are dependent upon the packaged food to survive. It's really quite disgusting. Campbell's, Coca-Cola, very terrible companies. The chips, the candy bars. It's quite bizarre. Quite bizarre. A healthy salad is just such a blessing. With a great cheese, some nuts on there, nice vinaigrette dressing. It's wonderful. Making fresh sourdough or just a nice baguette instead of that packaged, non-organic, GMO, high fructose corn syrup bread. There's some pre-made breads that are pretty decent. Like there's one called Dave's Killer Bread, organic, non-GMO, with some nice seeds. There's the Ezekiel bread, which is in the refrigerated section of the store, which has live sprouts in it, which is great for those who need fiber. So there are good breads. But take a look at all the additives. Look at all the children being born with organ problems, deformities, infertility problems, and ask yourself if the American diet is the healthiest. Compare that to the Mediterranean diet. Others point out how you travel to different countries, you see how and what they eat, and it's all this home-cooked food. People don't get as obese. But Americans are fed a diet that's slop. I remember seeing a guy who worked in a factory where they make pig food, and a lot of the junk food that doesn't get sold is get dumped in this place. They open it and it's like stuff that's expired, and then they make a pig slop, and that's fed to the factory farm pigs. It was a black guy. He got fired for recording that video, but I'll never forget it, because the slop they feed the pigs and then you eat the pig, it's like so unhealthy. Versus if you're going to eat pork, we Muslims don't eat pork, but a wild boar that is eating truffles and chestnuts, and the meat even smells different. If America stopped liking junk food and started having more street vendors who sell food who are regulated, that would actually be quite better. Think about it. A healthy food truck has a hard time setting up. Yeah, we don't want to be like in some places in India, you see the street food, or in China, you're like, that's not healthy. But the ability to sell real food on the street, that would be much preferable than to have Burger King, McDonald's, KFC, Taco Bell, and the likes, A&W, all around. Because that's all trash. But a food vendor who's making tacos, like in California, we have some nice taco trucks with actual meat and it's pretty good. Well, that's quite better, isn't it? But it's all about location and the prices and how much time you have. So think about that. Think about how America loves bad nutrition, junk food, and fast food far more than healthy food. Think about all the commercials McDonald's does on kids' programs. Think about how they advertise on buses. Really take a step back and ask yourself, if a government cared about its people, why would it feed it such bad food? And why are there so many ag-gag laws where activists go into the factory farms to record how the animals are treated, you'll get punished? Because the vegans are insane, but a lot of them would go undercover and show you what is exactly happening to these animals. And then you understand why buying humane certified is so important. But it costs more. People rather spend on their nails and makeup than buy good food from good farmers. They'd rather go and buy trash. So the lack of respect for food is a Western value. And it's very apparent. It's very apparent. Look at a map of how many McDonald's are across America. And ask yourself how they undercut the small business who sells you a proper burger. It's like how Walmart was a place that undercut so many little tiny shops. Because they due to globalization, they're able to get the cheapest products with slave labor and then undercut everyone around them, which makes those places go out of business. Junk food is like that to regular food. And so, what you can do is learn to love to cook. Change your palate. Your taste buds will refresh. Have a treat, but make it yourself. This requires time and effort and inspiration, and I hope to inspire you to cook more and to stop feeding your kids as much junk food. You want to make a burger? Make a nice burger at home. Don't go to fast food joints. Let me know what you think. A lot could be said. A lot of people have done documentaries on fast food, and you can check those out. But a Western value is junk food, fast food. You think of America, Coca-Cola, and McDonald's. There's a reason for that. America branded itself with garbage drinks and garbage food. Mexico, you think of the carne asada, fresh tortillas, grilled jalapenos. You think of Saudi Arabia, people sitting down and eating and then having rice, and that I've seen the big roasts of camels and people are talking, and tea. You think of Turkey, you think of dolmas and dates and Turkish coffee. Italian places, you think of fresh ricotta, cannolis, nice tortellini pasta, raviolis, handmade from scratch, right? Japan, fresh sushi, tempura shrimp, you name it. Eggs on everything, you know. When you think of America, McDonald's, Coca-Cola. That's intentional. giving kids high fructose corn syrup, artificial flavors, factory farm meat, making them sick, and then pumping them full of anti-ADD and anti-ADHD medication. Kids struggling with constipation, gut biome problems. Analyze it. Think about it. More could be said, but I'll leave it there. Take care, fam, and if you'd like to join my blog, it's www.subscribestar.com/MilahanArchive. Hope to see you there.